water, just chilling. And then all of a sudden, like I was top 5, and then I was top 3, and then I was top 2, and then I lost. It was a guy above me with a rocket launcher. He didn't hit me with it though, but then he like hammered down to me, and I didn't know where he landed, and I turned and shot at him, and I didn't have any shield because I wasn't carrying any because I had like a bunch of floppers. Stupid. Anyway, over family with 2 birthdays this weekend, says Tyler. Let's cut that out.
Says Tyler.
All right, you ready?
Yep, let's go.
Ooh, I'll give it like a 5-second pause here. Welcome back to the Dynasty Happy Hour. It is your new host, Doug Eddy, brand new to the show. I've never done this one before. I'm a little nervous. So I'm going to bring in my co-host, James Crease. Tyler is off this week. He's had family birthday parties, got family staying at the house. They're still buried in snow, I think, in Minnesota. But James, guess what? We're supposed to get snow here in the next day or two. What is that?
Nah.
It's just gonna turn into rain.
I'm too far south for all that, man. It snowed. I think it was yesterday on Saturday.
We got a little bit of snow yesterday.
We got like a flurry. It did not even touch the ground. So
yeah, we got less than an inch, but we're supposed to get. It originally was up to a foot. Now they're like 3 to 6. Who knows? Like whatever. I wake up. Oh, it's snowing. Cool. I have an SUV. Not a big deal. I have a snowblower. Not a big deal. So. I went
out and got a snowblower last year because we had that one big storm where we got like 18 inches of snow.
I bet it's sitting there looking pretty with the fresh paint shiny. In the garage.
Yeah, it's pretty shiny, chilling out in the shed. Probably won't need it this year. Knock on wood, you know.
Yeah, right. So I just want to make sure if you're tuning in and you want to join us every Sunday right around 9 p.m. Eastern time, you can see this live on YouTube, which you can drop a like and subscribe. That would be very helpful to the channel. It's all about the subs and the views. As
Toronto Dave is in the chat. Shout out.
The YouTubes. What's up, Toronto Dave? And you can also see this live on Facebook as well. Feel free to leave comments. We'll get to them as we go if it's in the flow. So thank you, Toronto Dave. You got questions, feel free to drop them. We'll get to them if we can. This episode is brought to you by Manscaped. Just an amazing product overall. Like if you're a guy and you're hairy and you're kind of like, I need something to trim all this stuff because I want to look a little bit leaner. Maybe it's the summertime. You want to look a little bit more svelte. You want to be able to swim a little faster. Go on manscaped.com. Use code DHH for 20% off. You're going to get the Lawnmower 4.0. It's got a wireless charger. You're going to get a weed whacker for your nose and ears. You're old like me. There's hair coming out of everywhere. You're going to get the crop preserver. So if you might be maybe getting lucky and you're like, you know what? I want to maintain. I want to make sure everything looks good. Not only look good, but also smell good, feel good with the crop cleanser, the preserver, as well as the crop reviver. It's going to make everything just smell like very inviting, like they're going to be drawn like moths to a flame. So make sure you check out manscaped.com. Use code DHH for 20% off. Your balls will thank you. They'll look up at you and say, "Thanks, pal." Yeah, that's how it works. We are here this week to talk about the 2023 running back landscape. Unfortunately, I missed the quarterback landscape last week, but I listened back and it was a great episode. So I'm excited to bring the energy with James today and talk about some running backs. We do have some news here in the league. There's never an off season when it comes to fantasy football, right, James?
Not in Dynasty, buddy.
Not in even regular fantasy football at this point, but Dynasty, we've got the Combine coming up this week.
Yeah.
Combine this week. We're going to see some players' stock rise. We are going to see some players' stock fall. It happens every year. There's going to be someone that surprises that all of a sudden flies up boards because they ran a 4.3 or some other BS. It happens all the time. Let's get into some coaching hires, though. There's going to be some coaches at the Combine that are brand new, checking it out. And one of them is Broncos DC Vance Joseph. NFL Network's Peter Schrager reported that they are hiring Vance Joseph. I believe he used to be their head coach, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he's coming back as a DC. Denver has one of the more talented defenses, I think, in the league, so I think this is a perfect fit for him. The Colts hired Jaguars passing game coordinator Jim Bob Cooter as the
great name.
Classic name. And we saw what the Jaguars passing game did last year with good old Jim Bob Cooter. And the Colts passing game last year stunk. Matt Ryan and everyone else, they couldn't figure out how to use Michael Pittman correctly. It was just bad. So hopefully Jim Bob Cooter is going to use, Michael Pittman a little bit more like how he used Zay Jones. That would be good. I would like that. Cooter reunites with the Colts head coach Shane Steichen after the two were both spent 2021 as members of the Eagles coaching staff. So nice that they already have that relationship. with Steichen being an offensive-minded coach. Now he's got Jim Bob Cooter who worked with him. So I like this a lot from Michael Pittman. And then whoever they draft at quarterback, which will be their starter, because I'm pretty sure that's what they're going to do. You would say that, James? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's just going to be it'll be interesting to see how the quarterbacks shake out. I am really excited for the combine, one, for the quarterback position, to see Anthony Richardson blow up the combine physically. Not physically blow up the combine, but you know what I mean. And see his stock go through the roof, and then all of a sudden, like,
I think his stock is already through the roof, and
it's going to go higher.
It's going to go higher because the guy is really good.
It's going to go higher, and then there's going to be whispers of he's a top 4 pick. Like, it's going to happen. We all know it's going to happen. It happens every year. A player gets propped up like that. Or Will Levis has a really good combine, and his stock increases. None of this will surprise me. We did have some player news, and we are talking about running backs today, and this is a very important one. ESPN's Jeff Legwold writes that Javonte Williams' multiple knee ligament tears, quote unquote, could keep him out well into the 2023 season. He had hoped to be back by training camp, but given the scope of the injuries with multiple knee ligament tears, it's certainly possible that he could be on the shelf to start the season. We saw Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins struggle to clear ACL tears that they suffered the year previous that lasted well into the following season. We all know that J.K. Dobbins came back, when at the beginning of the season, he had to miss some weeks 100%. On PUP. He came back and was productive.
One leg was 100, the other was like 65.
Yeah, but he was not 100%, but he produced. And Gus Edwards, same thing. This one to me is interesting because the Denver Broncos running back depth chart is Chase Edmonds, who will probably be a roster cut because they can save $5 million. And then Mike Boone, I don't know. I don't think he's a free agent, but they've got like Demarie Crockett, and this could be a team that's a sneaky sign one of the free agents that we're going to talk about team going forward. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and the name Damian Harris got mentioned, and I was like, I love that, actually, for that role. Like, that would be great. So with Javonte Williams, not being effective, it's one of those things in Dynasty. He was a top 5 Dynasty running back at one point, just right on the fringe, like between 10 and 12 overall players in startup when the hype was real, before the season started. And now he's slipping, and he's going to slip even further. So when we talk about buys and sells, running back landscape stuff, I look at it as an opportunity that, you may not get the 2023 season out of him, and you may not get Javonte until 2024, but he's still only going to be 24 or 25 years old. He's very young.
He's currently 22.
Yeah, so he's going to be like 24 when he's fully recovered. So for me, if someone's scared off from this news, it's a great opportunity to maybe send out some offers. Maybe
definitely a buying opportunity.
Yeah, maybe we talk about a running back. I'm just going to throw this name out there. Would you send Joe Mixon for Javonte Williams?
100%.
Okay. Even if you're win now, still do it?
Depending on how close I am to the win now.
Yeah, it depends on roster. But just an example of what you might be able to send for Javonte. In other running back news, the Jaguars re-signed JaMycal Hasty to a contract extension. Good news for Travis Etienne as the commitment makes the Jaguars less likely to bring in someone who'd actually push Etienne for snaps. I love this because I actually really like JaMycal Hasty. I liked him as a rookie. He flashed for the Niners a few years ago. And guess what? When Hasty stepped in for Etienne, I think he had a 3-touchdown game and looked pretty damn good, not only in the passing game, but running in between the tackles. He's got that extra juice that we like to see from running backs. They run a little nasty. They run a little hard. Nasty.
Runs a little hasty.
Yeah, hasty pudding. So I like this move, not only for the Jaguars, but also for JaMycal Hasty. We saw Travis Etienne largely be healthy in his second year in the NFL, but now Hasty, I think, is a high value handcuff, right, James?
Yeah, I think so. He can't really handle a full workload week in, week out, but yes, he is a nice complement piece. He is the handcuff to Travis Etienne. So if you own Travis Etienne, definitely look into acquiring JaMycal Hasty.
Yep, I like that a lot. Speaking some quarterback news here, Bucs senior advisor, Bruce Arians, let's give him a title without giving him a title, told the Rich Eisen show that he thinks Tampa Bay is in good hands with Kyle Trask, this will be his 3rd year. Quote unquote, he's got all the size. He's got the arm. He's got the statue, Arians said. The former Bucs head coach stopped short of saying that Trask would be the starter, but a report out today from ESPN's Jeff Darlington noted that Trask was likely to be the guy under center. Now,
smoke.
There could be fire
Smoke.
with this. Here's the thing. The
Straight
Buccaneers need to do some shuffling of their cap. They are currently like $35 million over the cap. So they need to do some stuff because of Brady's dead cap money.
57 million.
Okay. So it's a
under the
lot.
cap.
Yeah. But I know Brady accounts
Number
for like
32
32
in
of
the
that.
league. Yeah.
Yeah. So they need to do some work. For me, the Buccaneers, they should be in sell mode, and they should sell Mike Evans. They should sell off pieces of that team. Mike Evans, last year of his deal, he's 30 years old. Let Kyle Trask run the team for a year and tank and get a top 5 pick and get a quarterback next year. Because I don't think they're going to have the draft position to get Anthony Richardson at 19 or wherever they pick. I don't think they have the draft capital to move up that far to get a quarterback. A veteran quarterback, maybe it's a Jacoby Brissett that goes there as a starter, but it's not going to be Garoppolo. It's not going to be one of these costly guys. Maybe Baker Mayfield. Like, let Kyle Trask run it. Let the Bucs suck and get a top 5 pick and get your future quarterback in 2024 because that class is looking pretty nice at the moment. That's how I would do it if I was running the team. But you know what? They don't give me those types of responsibilities. But what do you think about Tampa Bay? You think Kyle Trask? I'm kind of buying it.
I mean, is he capable of starting for a season? Yeah. Is Tampa Bay going to be last in the league? Yeah. If that happens,
Caleb Williams time, boys.
and I like how you touched on the wide receivers, the Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. Get rid of at least one of them. I've heard that going around in circles, and it just makes a ton of sense for this team just to not quote unquote tank, but quote unquote tank.
Yeah, I don't think if you bring in a veteran, that team is not going to get you. You might get to the playoffs in that crappy division, but you're not going to win a playoff game really, and you're not going to push for a Super Bowl. So why bother? Like, just look at the writing on the wall. It's like when we look at our dynasty teams and we're like, I can't compete. Like, let me start to sell off pieces and rebuild.
It's the same exact
blow
it up. That's what you call it.
Just blow it up. Couple last pieces of news. The Tennessee Titans cleared some books. They were over the salary cap as well, but they released, I believe, 9-year veteran left tackle Taylor Lewan, and they released Bob Trees. Bob Trees,
Timber.
His ADOT was bad last year. I don't know if it was the offense, if it was just him coming off the ACL. But we've seen Robert Woods go from a solid wide receiver 2 years ago to being like, you could probably get him for a cheap draft pick at this point. I don't know that he's 100% washed per se, but in the right offense, Buffalo, Robert Woods, I think, could still be productive. I don't think he's terrible by any means, but another year removed from the ACL, kind of like Michael Gallup this coming year, in the right offense, I think Robert Woods could still have some fantasy relevancy. Not a guy you're going to start all the time, but like a high-end bench player in most of your leagues. What do you think, James?
Robert Woods did tweet out saying, "What next?" ? And immediately Cooper Kupp turned around and raised his hand with the raise my hand emoji. Yeah. So, I mean, it makes perfect sense for him just to finish his career in LA. He's been there for so long.
Yep.
Allen Robinson is an afterthought.
Oh. They don't have anything else. Ben Skowronek, Tutu Atwell.
I mean, who else are they going to scrounge together? They can't like really trade any draft picks. They don't have any draft picks to trade.
Yep.
So, it looks like they're going to pad their offense with some
we'll see.
Needed veteran free agents, and Robert Woods obviously
Deshaun Jackson was on that team last year.
Knowing the scheme, I think he fits in pretty well, and I never wanted him to be in Tennessee anyway.
Yeah, I don't think Robert Woods wanted to be in Tennessee.
No.
So yeah, it's where the passing game goes to die. But hopefully they'll change up some things and we'll see bright futures
with Taylor Lewan leaving, and I know we don't really talk about left tackles too much, but Taylor Lewan was definitely a major piece in the run game for Tennessee. He did a lot of blocking for Derrick Henry up front, and I think it may hurt Henry a little bit moving forward.
Yeah, that line last year, they lost Roger Saffold, the left guard, now Lewan, left tackle. They've still got the center, Ben something or other. But that offensive line is hopefully they might
getting a little suspect.
They might rework it, but it used to be one of their strengths, and it is definitely not that anymore. So obviously a situation to monitor as we get through the draft and all that jazz. Coming up next, Trophy Smack. James, you've got a belt from Trophy Smack. It is absolutely awesome, customizable, the chef belt. It's a beautiful thing, and you can customize pretty much anything that you want over at trophysmack.com. You can upload images, pick from preset images as well, what they have in their database.
Got a trophy in the back there.
Yeah, and do all those awesome things. And not only can you do it for football, hopefully, now that your league's wrapped up, you've got that all sorted out, and you got your trophy, and you got it from Trophy Smack, and most importantly, use code DHH Ring. But if you didn't, now's the time. Use code DHH Ring, get a belt, get a trophy, get a $60 value free ring. Not only football, hockey, basketball, baseball, soccer. They've got everything that's right for you. And they also have stuff for the losers in your league. You want to get a toilet seat, you want to get some fake poop, like all those kind of things. You can do that on Trophy Smack. They're expanding their collection all the time over there. So make sure you check out the guys over on trophysmack.com. And once again, that is code DHH Ring for that free ring at checkout. All right, I'm going to be on a little bit of a soapbox here, James, and then I'm going to hand it over to you a bit, because
Sure.
I did some thinking about this.
Mhm.
The running back landscape. I know you guys talked quarterback last week, and there's going to be a pretty big shakeup at the quarterback position this year when it
Mhm.
comes to free agency, potential trades. You've got some big pieces that can move around at the quarterback position. Maybe Lamar gets traded. You got Aaron Rodgers, like just a lot. We don't know what the Niners situation looks like. Jimmy Garoppolo is a free agent. Derek Carr is a free agent. Like, there's all going to be probably a good third of the league or more is going to have new starting quarterbacks this year. So we look at the running back position, and this free agency class is one of the deeper ones we've seen in recent history. And there's still some needs on teams that are losing some of these free agent running backs that need them. So there's other teams that that aren't losing free agents that need running backs. My look at the running back position is, it's very interesting, because in years past, we've seen a lot of solid guys, like the top 12 guys are all rock solid, or top 10 guys, but it's beginning to look a lot muddier at the top. And there's no like slam dunk guarantee type of guy. I mean, maybe you could say McCaffrey.
CMC, yeah.
McCaffrey, a healthy Jonathan Taylor, although, we'll see what that looks like. Barkley's had some injuries. There's no like slam dunk guy that we can rely on, we know week in and week out, and is just going to put up an ungodly amount of points like we used to in the past. One of the things at the running back position, and this is what, when we look at like all these running back names, I've got it in front of me, and I was like, wow, like there's a lot of guys I like in the top 30, top 40, is that I don't think we've ever experienced in fantasy football the amount of depth at the position. There's so many good running backs in the league. And I think that's the reason why we've gone from like a more of a committee approach. Like, there's very rarely a 3-down back anymore in the NFL because there's so much talent injected into the league. You don't need to have one super talented guy. You can have multiple talented guys and have them on the same roster. And I think that's one thing that's kind of like, it used to be in Dynasty and regular fantasy football, everything was running back heavy. And that's changed over the years. But because of the depth and the talent, I mean, we've got a lot of talented running backs in the league right now, and we're going to be welcoming a running back class that is very deep and I think very good. So it's not only that, we're going to see more talent injected into the league, where some of these free agents, names that that may have a really hard time finding a spot on a roster, and maybe they get signed late into free agency, maybe they get signed in training camp. Maybe they're just on the outside looking in. If they're a little bit older, maybe guys like a Leonard Fournette is like, you know what? Like, you had a good run, but it's going to be really hard for you to find a new spot because like there's just younger guys in front of you. Maybe guys like a Joe Mixon, if he gets cut from the Bengals, has a hard time finding a spot that's really good for him. Like, this is the kind of thing with running back where I would say it's a very volatile market right now. I'm not really trading for running backs unless I'm a win now team. And we'll talk a little bit about that coming up. But to me, I think running back is like the one position, like no one's really buying them. So selling them is hard, right? Because the landscape is so shooken up right now. We have Dalvin Cook might get cut. Aaron Jones restructured to stay with the Packers, so we know where he's going to be. Alvin Kamara may get suspended. Joe Mixon might get cut. We've got Tony Pollard as a free agent. We've got Miles Sanders as a free agent. We've got David Montgomery as a free agent.
Saquon Barkley.
Josh Jacobs as a free agent. DeAndre Swift, rumors of him like might be an out the door in Detroit. Like, they might draft a running back. Like, we've got all these guys that are like, if you look at the top 25 or 30, there's question marks on a lot of these guys. We don't know where they're going to be. maybe they're coming off injuries like a J.K. Dobbins, like, a Cam Akers in his future. We saw guys that had good rookie seasons, but we're not really sure going forward. I would say the running back position is a hot mess.
Yeah, I could agree with that, Doug. And to pour a little spice on top of your drink there that you just spewed out, like, it makes sense. Like, the league itself, the NFL has changed. We've gone to a more pass-friendly offense. We've gone to multiple running backs on teams. No one single guy is a workhorse outside of like a Najee Harris, or even a Jonathan Taylor, CMC, etc. But we are seeing what happens is they all get injured. So you need multiple running backs in dynasty fantasy football and regular fantasy for the most part, but we're talking about dynasty here. So like you take a player like Nick Chubb, 27 years old. He is the lead back on that team. However, he's 27. He's still inside the top 10 in ADP. And immediately it jumps off the page to me like, wow, I didn't realize Nick Chubb's 27 years old. He's hitting that time mark in his career that you have to start thinking as a dynasty manager. If you have him on your roster, you're trying to offload him for someone younger with the same potential to be a top 10 dynasty running back in the near future.
Eckler's another one who's 28 years old.
Yeah, same thing.
Coming off Eckler, 2 straight years of top 3 running back.
Yeah. Dalvin Cook. And like we've talked about these players before, and I pushed to get Joe Mixon off my squads 1 year too early. Like last year was the perfect scenario. I sold him a year before that.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, these guys still have breakout games. So it's not like you're tossing them out the window. It's just you have to pick and choose who's going to be the safest bet for your dynasty team for the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, just looking at this running back list, man, I've got some dynasty rosters where I have Joe Mixon, Devin Singletary, Najee Harris, DeAndre Swift. So it's like I have depth, right? But I don't have it just goes to show like those are all great names, but there's no I wouldn't consider any of them studs at the moment because there's only a couple of them in the league. Like there's a handful of them in the league and that's it. So for me, it's like I have this pile of running backs that I don't know what to do with. So the only thing I can do is hold them and have depth and then hope maybe that someone that has CMC or one of these other running back up Barkley, like, oh, maybe he gets injured and I can sell one of my running backs to them. But that's pretty much how you have to approach it.
You're hoping to sell in season and most of 9 out of 10 times you can. I mean, and it's the best time to sell in season when people are trying to make a push for the playoffs, etc. But like the things that really stand out to me on this ADP rank, and yes, we use DLF, Dynasty League Football. Go ahead and check them out. One thing is Isaiah Pacheco, running back 32. We just heard that the Chiefs are declining CEH. I can't even say his name anymore or his initials.
I don't want to say his name anymore.
5th-year option. McKinnon is a free agent. We didn't see a full workload from Pacheco until after week 8, bye week. So from week 9 on, he was RB22. And that leads me to think, yes, of course, the Chiefs are going to go and draft a running back this year.
At some point.
Are they going to draft them early? No, I don't think so. I think there's enough depth in this running back class where they can get someone to supplement carries for Pacheco, and Pacheco is going to be the main guy. We saw his usage start to grow. Like I said, RB22 from week 9 on. We saw his utilization in the playoffs. I think the first game against, well, never mind. But I see his value continuing to improve. And I bought in early this season for a mid-second, and I didn't look back. And that has already paid its dividends. I think Pacheco is a guy that I want to try to roster. He's going to have a bright future. He's young. He's on a great franchise with a great quarterback. And they get down towards the goal line, Pacheco is going to be the guy.
Yeah, I'm kind of split on Pacheco. I like the player, but he's going to have to buck some major trends in order to be a hit, because typically any running back that's either drafted in the 7th round or a UDFA, his ceiling might be a season as an RB2. And then after that, they tend to fade away. I mean, we've seen it happen in the past with guys like Phillip Lindsay, We saw Chris Carson be productive for, a year. But he just could never put it together physically, unfortunately. But for me, Pacheco is one of those. He's interesting because the Chiefs aren't going to go out and get one of these free agent running backs. They can't afford to.
No.
So they're going to roll with a guy making dirt money that was a 7th round pick. And they'll probably take a running back in the 4th, 5th round to complement him. Maybe they take one of these guys.
Kareem Hunt, why not? Pay him a 1-year contract, just like they did McKinnon.
Yeah, I mean, they might get a veteran in there. I mean, they have Melvin Gordon on the practice squad. He's got a ring, by the way, which is
really.
Yeah, Melvin Gordon's on the Chiefs practice squad. He got a Super Bowl ring. Strange. And
Weird.
So did Rojo, and he did nothing.
Rojo.
So it's going to be that. They're going to bring in some like Rex Burkhead type of veteran running back that's still got maybe a little bit of juice, and it'll be Pacheco, at least for, I think, the 2023 season. And then after that, I mean, guys like Pacheco are just kind of disposable, which is what I'm concerned with. I don't think he's a special talent. I think he's situational. He's in a good situation. So for me, if someone's going to offer me like, all right, I'll give you a late first for Pacheco or a high second, I'm probably going to take it because I just don't think the long-term sustainability of his career is going to be a hit. Like 2023 might be the year where maybe he gets 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns, and that would be awesome. But I just don't see him being long for the league because we've seen it before in guys that have been drafted in UDFAs that just don't typically last that long. So that's my thing on Pacheco.
James Robinson.
Yeah, it's another one. One good year. I mean, yeah, he had an injury concern.
Still a very good running
back. They still drafted ETN even when he was healthy. So
yeah,
they obviously knew something, and he burned out really, really quickly. So that's an interesting one for me. And I think he's one of the few running backs that's really gaining value. And I think it is time to capitalize on that and sell off if you can. If someone's super pumped about it and they're kind of not seeing the forest through the trees, that's the kind of move where if someone's going to be all frothy and be like, I'll give you a late first for Pacheco, I'm taking that. Give me any of these rookie running backs that make it to that position in the draft. Maybe it's a Sean Tucker or a guy like that I really like that maybe I can get at the end of the first. Like, hell yeah, give me that all day long. I don't care where the landing spot is. I just think they're more talented, to be quite honest.
The other name that jumped off the page to me for their ADP was James Cook, Tyler's guy. James Cook, at the bottom of our running back 36, at the bottom of RB3 territory in Dynasty, like guys like James Conner, Leonard Fournette, Elijah Mitchell, the aforementioned Isaiah Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, Antonio Gibson, guys that really didn't do as much as James Cook's potential says he can. And for him to be this low on the list, I think it's an extreme buying opportunity for James Cook, to be honest.
It's going to be one of those things that like you can either buy.
It's a risk or a biscuit. You
can either buy James Cook now while his value is a little bit low, and then maybe he escapes the NFL draft. Because I'm concerned that the Bills, I'm seeing it very commonly in a lot of mock drafts, the Bills drafting Bijan.
Right.
Which would be a great fit for the NFL. Like, I think that would be a good spot because
James Cook's value right down
it would screw it a little bit. I still think he'd be active there, but they also have Nyheim Hines, although they could probably get out of his deal. Devin Singletary, I think if they don't draft Bijan, they could bring Singletary back because he's going to have a hard time finding a market, I think. They can bring him back on a cheap 1-year deal and then use him and Cook again. I just wish the Bills would commit more to the run. I think it's probably one of their Achilles heels that they don't mix it up enough. Like, they're pretty predictable when it comes to offense. We've seen those guys be successful in that system. With Singletary's had some nice games. We saw what Cook can do. I would love him to be like, hey, we're going to flip-flop it and give Cook 60% of the work and give Singletary 40%. But I don't know what they do. If they draft Bijan, then we're talking like Bijan's got a 3-down skill set. I know they don't want to run him into the ground, but that's when I would probably buy some James Cook because then he would never be cheaper because I still like the player. But he's an interesting one for me. I think if you buy now while his value is a little bit low and you escape the NFL draft, you're going to make out pretty well on that. But you could also buy now while it's low, and then it could get even lower. So it's one of those, like, you have to take a calculated risk on what you're going to do and have to be prepared for yourself. Like, hey, I made this risk and maybe it burned me. You just have to know that going in with whatever offer that you send. And
don't overpay.
Right. And you have to live with it. Be like, you know what? I took a gamble and it worked out, or I took a gamble and you know what? I got some egg on my face, but that's dynasty. Like, you make those gambles and sometimes they pay off. You go out and you acquire Tyreek Hill because he got in legal trouble like Tyler did. And then Tyreek Hill's a top 3 receiver every single year since. Like, those are the risks that you have to take in dynasty. And sometimes they don't work. All right, let's move on to where some of these rookies might be if they were placed in ADP. James, why don't you take this one away? I've talked enough.
I mean, Bijan Robinson instantly he's inside the top 10 without even stepping on an NFL field yet.
I mean, there's people that have said he's RB1 right out
Well,
of the gate.
I think that's just a little bit ridiculous. We've seen the people that are on the top: Christian McCaffrey,
recency
Jonathan
bias
Taylor,
galore. Yeah.
currently Kenneth Walker, top 3, my guy. And then Saquon Barkley behind him. I think he could fit somewhere in this top 5. Might bump out Kenneth Walker when Breece Hall comes back. But yeah, he's definitely inside the top 10. Probably, I want to say RB7, RB8 range. I would take DeAndre Swift down a notch if Bijan Robinson was a full 3-down back in the NFL right now, on a team that doesn't have any other competition in its backfield, obviously. But yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs, I have him in the low RB2 range, RB24, probably similar to a Rashad White or David Montgomery. Can do it all.
I have him higher than that, I think.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, because some of these guys, you never know.
I mean, would you want Jahmyr Gibbs or AJ Dillon? Because AJ Dillon is RB23.
Give me Gibbs.
Yeah, I would want Gibbs. I would want Gibbs over
situation.
I would want Gibbs over Miles Sanders. I would want Gibbs over Joe Mixon. I would want Gibbs over Derrick Henry. I would want Gibbs over probably Dobbins, Kamara. Like, I've probably got Gibbs like in the
got him up high there.
I'd got him in the mid-teens. I just think if he goes to the right spot with an offensive play caller that can move him around like a chess piece, it's a absolute smash win for Gibbs because of his skill set. Now, if he goes to somewhere where it's the same, like they don't do any of that and it's kind of like a boring run scheme, I still like the player a lot, but I'm not as excited because if he goes to somewhere they're not going to use him creatively, then that I think hurts him. So it's all a lot
put
of
him
it
in a place like
spot,
New Orleans and just throw up in your mouth.
Well, I mean, they might need a replacement for Kamara.
Oh, they do. They
everyone under their friggin' mother like comps him to Kamara all the time, which is just nauseating at this point. Think of something different, please. So yeah, I have Gibbs a little bit higher. What do you think about Zach Evans? I've got some.
I'm on the fence about Zach Evans. He's more of a downhill runner. Number 1 yards per attempt in 2022, 6.5 yards per carry. He could break a lot of tackles, but not as much wiggle as Gibbs. And that makes me think that he is going to be set more towards a goal line back situation. He hurt his knee and had a concussion in 2022. So I want to see what he really can do in the combine. If he can do those pass catching drills, especially, I think they call it the gauntlet when they run across the field and flip each way and catch it. I love it. That's my favorite drill out of the whole combine. And it just, I laugh when I see a lot of running backs just drop the ball. And I think he may be one that might just sit on the sideline for that drill. He's more of a downhill runner. We're going to look for some speed. I think we can fit him in somewhere.
I got him like RB 33, 34.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit lower I'd be okay with too.
I'd be okay with the 30-ish range.
Yeah. I mean, we've got friggin' Clyde Edwards-Helaire at RB 41, Algier at RB 40, Singletary at 39. I would take him over all those guys. Jamal Williams, RB 38. Damian Harris, I like Damian Harris a lot. So I'm dumb, but and then James Cook at RB 36. I'd probably fit him in somewhere in that group.
I agree there. I think I'd put him over Connor. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, Connor's a great buy for if you're a winning team, but like Connor in startups is like going so late because we all know that he's only got so much tread on the tires because he's a running back. So that's kind of how it works. I like this next name a lot. I think he's a guy that could his stock could go up quite a bit due to the combine and people discovering Devon Achane. When you look at his tape, just electric speed, I think he's a little sneaky right now, but I don't think he's going to be sneaky for long. What do you think, James?
Small, sneaky, slippery when wet. He reminds me a lot of Khalil Herbert. With the tape I saw, like as soon as he makes one break, he fools the whole entire defense, just cuts right back across the field, hits the Jets, and he's gone. The one thing that scares me a lot is his size. there is a problem. There is a size barrier for him. I believe he is only 5'9", 185 pounds.
Still not the smallest running back in this class, though.
Yeah, still not the smallest, but he definitely has a speed to finish to the end zone. Pass catching ability reminds me a lot, like I said, about like Khalil Herbert, and complete special teams, return specialist. So this guy is almost guaranteed to make a roster this season. And depending how things fall out, we can see him on an NFL field later in the season. So I like it. I like him. I don't know where I would put him though. That's where I'm struggling with. I'm struggling with this one.
I think I might put him over Evans because of his explosiveness and the fact that he's a better pass catcher. I think he'd be quicker to find a role in the NFL than Evans, but that's just what I'm feeling at the moment.
Would you like him or Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
Oh, get out of here with Clyde Edwards-Helaire is freaking useless. Like, no, I'll take my fan in my room right now over Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Like, let's be honest.
I mean, to be sincere about the whole thing, I mean, I could see him landing in a place like the Houston Texans where they split the carries between Dameon Pierce and him, and it makes a lot of sense. And he could be falling into like the third day of the NFL draft, which would be a perfect scenario for any team to snatch him up a little bit later.
Yeah. This next name I like a lot is Zach Charbonnet from UCLA.
Yes.
He's James's rookie RB3. He's got him in the top 30-ish. I just look at Zach Charbonnet and I say, like, he just looks like an NFL ready running back that can break tackles. He's tough. He's got good hands. He's productive. He reminds me a little bit of a more upright, not as shifty version of like maybe a little David Montgomery in his game. And I don't think it's a bad thing. Or like James Conner, like he reminds me of like a hybrid. Like he's not the fastest guy. He's not the shiftiest guy, but he's smart. He's tough. He makes plays. He's reliable. So yeah, I think that's
he's a little bit taller. He does run standing straight up a little bit, which scares me a little bit.
Always scares Tyler.
Those big bodied running backs that are like 6 foot plus, and I believe he's like 6'1", 225 or something like that. And he is definitely going to break some tackles, especially in short yardage. So you're going to see him around the goal line, explosive as he gets the ball in his hands. And he has the pass catching ability to run route. He is very good at running routes. And that's what intrigued me to put him at number 3 for myself, because he's definitely going to be a 3-down back in the NFL, or can be at least.
Yeah.
And I we never know where these guys are going to go and where they're going to wind up. But Zach Charbonnet, I was disappointed when he didn't come out last year. He's finally here, played through his senior year, had great stats. And I look forward to him coming out. And I think maybe I said the 30-ish range, but
I'd take him over Kareem Hunt.
I would put him over Antonio Gibson. Yeah.
I'd take him over Brian Robinson.
Brian Robinson range. Well, I think Brian Robinson's value right now is inflated so much in Dynasty. It's ridiculous. As soon as Sam Howell steps on the field, they're going to start throwing the ball a million times in Washington. Yeah. We know that.
Could be a sneaky value. We'll talk about that.
Gibson's value is starting to trickle down a little bit, but we can get into that a little bit later.
Absolutely. The last one on your list of rookie running backs and where they land, Sean Tucker. I really, really like Sean Tucker's tape.
Why is he not getting the love that we all
I do not know. I like Sean Tucker. Probably between me, it's a toss-up between Charbonnet and Sean Tucker.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tucker is just an awesome football player, and he reminds me a little bit of the muscle hamster Doug Martin.
Yep.
Like he's compact.
We talked about this off air. Yeah.
Yeah, he reminds me of Doug Martin a little bit, and we all know what Doug Martin did in the league for a few years. And let's be honest, if you're investing in a rookie running back, you're just hoping to get a few good years out of him. Like
That's right.
You're not like, I'm going to get him for next 7 or 8 years, and he's going to be amazing. No, that doesn't really happen all that often. So if I draft Sean Tucker in the first round and I get 3, maybe 4 good seasons out of him, that's worth it 100%. But I really like his tape. He's got good hands. He's electric. He can find the hole. He's got home run speed. And maybe he's being slept on. He's a Syracuse guy. They don't have a great football program.
I mean, that's what it is. I think it's the ACC that really like says it in general. And everybody always doubts the ACC. But yet we had Miles Sanders, Penn State. We had Saquon Barkley, Penn State.
Dalvin Cook, Florida State.
Isaiah Pacheco, ACC.
Yeah,
so,
Rutgers.
We never know where these guys are going to come out of. And Tucker just blew our minds. 1,300 plus yards, 13 touchdowns. He averaged 5 point yards per carry. 36 receptions on a team that doesn't really pass to the running back. He could do it all. And I love the comp with the Doug Martin. And I think this guy, if this guy falls to the right team, he might just turn around and be one of the gems in this year's class.
Here's the thing. If the Chargers are a smart organization and they're like, Eckler's getting older.
Chargers, go.
Yes. If the Chargers are like, you know what, we have a late second pick or a mid-second or whatever, and I know they're kind of looking for a running back to go with Eckler, Sean Tucker could complement Eckler, and then once Eckler ages out, then Tucker might have the same type of skill set. Not as shifty,
no offense to the offense of the LA Chargers, but they've been trying to do this for the past 3 years. They tried to do it with Josh Kelly. They tried to do it last year with Isaiah Spiller, and now they're in the same spot they were in 2 years ago, just minus Justin Jackson. Like that's the same situation.
Yeah, pretty much. Exactly. I like Justin Jackson still, but whatever.
I like Josh Kelly. Hey.
He played well this year, actually. Mm-hmm. All right, so next, I want to talk about who are we buying at ADP, James? Give me a couple of names and some examples of guys that you're like, you know what? I'm going to go out and try to acquire a running back. And people are going to look at these trades and be like, oh, someone's trying to buy a running back from me? Like, I haven't seen one of these in a while because not many people are out there trying to acquire running backs right now.
And especially not in the offseason before the combine. Everybody's like sit and hold, wait to see where these guys go, what the situation's going to be. It's a lot riskier to draft. Just first and foremost, it's a lot riskier to draft or trade rather it for a running back at this time of the season for your dynasty formats. But hey, sure enough, we've got some for you. And my first guy, I'm going to go low on this, Kenneth Gainwell, running back 57, 198 overall in startup ADP. We know Miles Sanders is a free agent. Whether or not they bring him back next year, I think is irrelevant. Even if he's there, Gainwell still started to get usage towards the end of the season. We saw him in the playoffs against the Giants, 12 carries, 112 yards. How could I not remember that? And a touchdown. But I think he should be in line for some more attempts, averaging 4.9 per carry. And they seem to like him. And I think Hurts likes him too. Very usable in the passing game when needed. Miles Sanders was pretty much not in the passing game whatsoever. Yeah. So I think Kenneth Gainwell takes a step in the right direction in 2023 that we all hoped he would take in 2022. We saw it started all at the end of the season, and I think it continues into the next season. So I did some digging on this because I wanted to prove to myself that I was right. And first and foremost, I saw Jerome Ford and a 2023 third round pick for Kenneth Gainwell. Now, anybody in their right mind would be awesome. Sell. Give me Kenneth Gainwell. Mm-hmm. Another one, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, which is like the ghost of
restricted free agent.
Yeah, restricted free agent. But a 2023 third and fourth round pick for Kenneth Gainwell. I mean, it's nothing. It's absolutely nothing for a player that has potential to pop off in a PPR system, in a run pass option where they are trying to move the ball continuously downfield through the air. And he's being used still at the goal line. Kenneth Gainwell is definitely one that I'm poaching this offseason.
Yeah, and just as a side note, I really like the potential for these third-round picks this year in rookie drafts. I think you're going to be able to get a solid running back and maybe even a wide receiver option in the third round this year. So I'm liking those third-round picks in the 2023 rookie class, just as a side note. James, you got another buy that you want to hit us with?
Yeah, the other one that I had was Rachaad White for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And yes, we know the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are bucking around. They're not doing nearly as much without Tom Brady this season coming up. We talked about the Kyle Trask situation, but it's really going to be a run-first team, in my belief. You know, whether or not they get rid of Godwin or Evans, it doesn't really matter to me. Rachaad White, they drafted him in the second round last year for a reason. RB24, ADP, 88 overall right now. He is climbing because the secret is out. We know that Leonard Fournette's days there are numbered. Free agent this year. So Rachaad White's in a similar situation as Gainwell. No more Fournette. There's not much cap room.
But Keyshawn Vaughn, James. Keyshawn Vaughn.
But Keyshawn Vaughn. Yeah. Remember, Tim? Remember Keyshawn Vaughn? He's still on the roster.
Shout out to my boy Robbie Jeffries with Keyshawn Vaughn.
But yeah, we talked about it a little bit earlier with the Bucs. They're $57 million against the cap. They are last place against the cap. Even with cutting Tom Brady, it's still not going to make a difference. They're not going to go out and spend big money on a free agent running back because they know they're not going to win. So we saw that White is capable of handling a 3-down work set. We saw it when Fournette went down. He wasn't taking anything big time. 6 weeks as RB2 or better when he was handling a full workload. So I can get down with Rachaad White. He was a name that I snagged in most of my redraft leagues late, only because I knew that his capability. He's stellar in the receiving game, and we know that system just likes to dump it down to the running back or hand it off. And that's, I believe, is what's going to happen. So Rachaad White, I mean, you may have to give up maybe a first round pick. I don't know. That might be a little bit too much. But this pick went down. I searched it. Rachaad White and George Pickens for a 2023 first and second. So in my eyes, it's the second for Rachaad White and the first for Pickens.
Yeah,
What do you
Pickens'
think?
value is still high. Yeah, I agree.
And then the same thing on another side of I saw James Cook and Rachaad White for Jerick McKinnon, John Mechie, and Wandale Robinson. Wandale.
Give me Cook and White. I like
Give me Cook and
Wandale.
White.
Mechie's a
I
wild card. McKinnon's whatever. He's not going to do what he did. Yeah, he's a free agent. He's 30,
we
like,
never
damn.
know, but yeah, you're risking the biscuit. I traded Jerick McKinnon for Jerick McKinnon this about 2 weeks ago. I wanted Allen Robinson off my roster,
That's
and I put it out there in the chat, and I said, anybody, send me anyone. And someone offered me Jerick McKinnon. So I said, hey, might as well take a shot on someone that's not injured every year.
Oh, God. Yeah.
But yeah, so I think Rachaad White is definitely somebody that I'm keeping my eye on, trying to get him on my rosters in leagues that I don't have him.
Yeah, I've got I've got the 2017 class for running backs for win now teams. So we talked a little bit about it earlier. Joe Mixon, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, even Lenny. Like if he gets cut, I think that he's a good enough pass catcher, pass blocker that he'll still have a role for a team. It won't be like the role that we saw in Tampa 2 years ago, I don't think. But I could see him being still fantasy relevant. And if he gets cut and then, land somewhere, you should be able to get him on the cheap. But we've seen these running backs that have been productive for years now, have the lowest prices that we've ever seen. So if you're going out and acquiring a running back and you're a win now team, these are the guys that you want to get. They're 27, 28 years old. I still think all these guys, maybe Lenny, maybe less. I've seen him fall off a little bit, but I think Mixon, Dalvin, and Kamara still have some pretty good tread.
And Kamara still has a decent amount of time left on his contract. I mean, there is a potential out at the end of 2023, but he's going to be there this season, depicting any
and they don't have anything behind him. It's not like they're going to hand it to Mark Ingram.
Yeah,
or the ghost of David Johnson.
We could see one of these other free agents wind up getting picked up by New Orleans, like we've seen year after year after year, like a guy like James Conner.
Latavius Murray.
Yeah, Latavius Murray,
Yep. So I'm kind of in on buying the 2017 class. You used to be able to get first for selling Dalvin. I don't think people are giving up first round picks.
Maybe a late first for Dalvin. Maybe in Superflex. Maybe
same with Mixon. Like I think that like a second round.
You missed your window on these guys to get a top first round pick.
Yeah. So but again, a window opens up if you're buying. So that's kind of what I'm interested. And then the other one I had to buy. This one was really puzzling to me. I looked at some of the running backs around the same position as this running back, and I saw names like I saw Jeff Wilson Jr., Cordero Patterson, Jerick McKinnon, Chase Edmonds. In the middle of all these names is a guy who's 24 years old, who's been productive when he's been on the field and given the opportunity, going into his free agency year at 24 years old. Why is he in the same universe as some of these guys? Let me remind you again. Jeff Wilson, 27. Cordero Patterson, 31. Jerick McKinnon, 30. His name, Darrell Henderson's in this list at RB 52. I don't get it. It's Alexander Mattison. Why? All this tells me is go get freaking Alexander Mattison. What if he goes to Denver?
Yep.
What if he goes to Denver? They run him. Javonte comes back. He's not healthy. You can't tell me that Mattison won't run for 1,000 yards for the Denver Broncos.
Speaking of, we just named Jeff Wilson. What happens if Alexander Mattison went to Miami?
Yeah, Miami, like
perfect fit.
Madison is a really good player.
Yeah,
it's no coincidence when people are like, "Oh, I couldn't tell the difference between him and Dalvin Cook." It's not because they physically
it's not
look
the hair.
Same. It's because they're both really good running backs. So for me, Madison at this price, holy smokes! This is you gotta
Extreme
go.
discount.
You have to
Extreme
go and get
discount.
him now. Now, maybe he signs somewhere. Maybe he signs in Dallas and he's there with Zeke because like they let Pollard go because they can't afford him or whatever. Like again, not a bad opportunity. We know once called upon that he can be the guy. He can carry the ball 20 times a game. Madison is a fucking slam dunk here at this ADP. Like this one stuck out to me like a boner in sweatpants. All right, let's go over. We've got a couple from Tyler. He chimed in on the show sheet here, and Tyler's got some buys. Antonio Gibson at RB 38, and Malik Davis, Dallas running back. He's RB 58, and Tyler also chimed in. I hate buying running backs high. I think everyone hates buying running backs high.
Correct. You should never buy a running back high unless you're flipping another running back in return.
Yeah, and we've always said on this show, once a running back hits the 101 in startups, you have to sell.
Sell them.
You have to sell. They have
Jonathan Taylor, sell them.
Never sustained that position in startups after they've hit the 101. Whether it's Todd Gurley, it's Christian McCaffrey, it's Jonathan Taylor, like whoever it is, the year after that, they lose value. So that is the bat signal for dynasty owners of those players. Time to sell. I kind of agree with Antonio Gibson on this one.
I agree.
I think Gibson's a super talented player. I just think he's been misused. They said JD McKissick's future is unclear. They were worried about, everyone was worried about him being the pass catcher. Well, we all know Gibson used to be a receiver. If they let him have some more of that role, I think they'd be better off for it. Brian Robinson, to me, is just a guy. Like, awesome story, what he went through and came back and had some success. But to me, he's not anything special. Antonio Gibson has that juice. We've seen him catch and run 70 yards. We've seen him have long runs. Brian Robinson ain't going to do that. Like, if Robinson's longest career carry is like 50 yards.
Robinson's good in between in the trenches. I'm not going to take anything away from Brian Robinson, but yes, Antonio Gibson, like whoever the pass catcher is out of that backfield, we've seen it time and time again. They run that with Ron Rivera all the time.
Now Eric Bieniemy is the OC.
And now the Eric Bieniemy thing, I would think Kareem
use
Hunt
him like they use McKinnon.
Yeah, use him like exactly. If you put Antonio Gibson next to McKinnon, they're almost the same guy.
Gibson's bigger, more physical.
Yeah. So I totally agree. And Tyler, he nailed it on the head. Go out and buy Antonio Gibson because you're getting him at a discount when no one else wants him. In a lot of people's eyes, a lot of fantasy players' eyes, Brian Robinson won that backfield last year, and you can't tell anybody different. So thinking outside the box and hedging the actual claim to fame, Antonio Gibson is in a prime spot to actually pick up some value here because he lost so much over this past season.
Yep. So James, you've got to sell, and then we'll start to wrap up here. I've got some takes on this one, so we won't take too long. But my sell is pretty much any running back that's like ranked super high.
And same thing here, Ramondre Stevenson. All right. And it wasn't so long, Doug, that we were sitting at Dynasty Rich's house in Ohio talking about Ramondre Stevenson.
You stole
like your purple scar. But now 2 years later, Ramondre Stevenson, RB14 over and ADP of 58 overall. So he's not getting out of the 5th round of startup drafts. He finished as RB7. What are we waiting for? Sell this man. Okay. You just mentioned it. He's an RB1, not RB1 overall. He is never going to be the 101. All right. No. But he is a little bit older. We think about it. Ramondre Stevenson came into the league after being a senior. He's already 25.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty old for a running back. You think about it. Alvin Kamara is 27. He's 2 years. Ramondre Stevenson probably has 2 more years left in the league of doing what he's going to do. But are you ever going to get the same amount of value that you are going to get for him right now? He's got Damian Harris leaving. That's a great selling point. Like I already mentioned, the RB7 this year, it's a Patriots backfield. They always add someone. They added Pierre Strong last year. They added Kevin Harris, I believe his name was.
Kevin Harris. Ty Montgomery, they tried to make as the pass catcher.
One of those guys, one of those guys isn't going to work out. They will eventually pick up someone else from this draft. They always draft someone late in the
or they'll get someone at the end of free agency,
6th round, right? Some leftover and
Leonard Fournette,
and it'll just tear into Ramondre Stevenson's value. I can't see it getting much higher at this point. If you can get a first from Ramondre Stevenson, which he's doing right now, he's going for, 2 23rd seconds and a 2024 first, or a 2023 first straight up. Like,
Yep.
I think you can get that for Ramondre Stevenson. So why not turn that into something now if you're not
Yeah.
competing?
This is a tough one for me because I really love the player and I'm a Patriots fan, obviously. But a lot of things broke right for Stevenson. The pass catcher Montgomery missed most of the time. Bill really wanted him to be like in the James White role, Swiss Army knife guy. Damian Harris was playing really well and then got hurt extended amount of time. And then all they had really was rookie running backs with, Harris and Pierre Strong. They didn't really bring anyone in to help. And I think that they probably end up drafting a running back somewhere along the way in a really deep class.
Yep.
I don't think they'll bring in a free agent for any significant money, but we might see a veteran name that comes in. It's either a camp body or maybe he makes the team. With Ramondre, it was all about the pass catching. Like, he caught over 60 balls for the Pats. So he filled that James White role and had the first 2 down role as well. His touchdown numbers weren't great. I think he had 5 on the season. So there could be some positive regression for Stevenson with that, especially with Bill O'Brien as the OC coming in. I think that offense is going to score more points just in general because Bill is there. Freaking Matt Patricia is finally not in that role.
Thank God.
Thank God. So for me, I think the Patriots offense could be moving on the way up. So it could help Stevenson this year. The time to sell Stevenson might be to hold and sell him at the end of next year. I got a hankering that they might change it up. They're not going to go committee. Stevenson might be the guy.
Yeah, I mean, have they ever gone non-committee?
When they had Dillon, but they still had pass catchers there. But I mean, Dillon ran for like 1,300 yards.
And I think the problem is, if they eventually fix the passing game and get some capable wide receivers in that wide receiver core, then Ramondre Stevenson's value starts to slip even more, because then he's not going out on every down and catching a ball and just being the playmaker on the field every single down. And it will translate into negative regression for Ramondre Stevenson, in my opinion.
Yeah.
We can always differ.
For sure.
We're
I'm
not
going
the
to say
same
it now.
person.
If the Patriots at 14 draft Quentin Johnson, I will physically cry, and not because I'm happy. I will just be like, here we go again.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
I would just
Addison.
I would just wait. I'm not going to wait. Rather, you can wait. You can wait another season, and we could sit here next year and debate who was right and who was wrong on when we should have sold Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah.
But you are agreeing that he's maybe going to pick up a little bit more value depending on who they get in this draft.
Right, but
or
I don't
in
think it's
free
going to be.
agency.
I don't think he's going to go from getting you 1 first to like someone paying 2 firsts. Like,
Right.
it might be a first and a solid
So
player.
if you can get a mid first for Ramondre right now, 2023 mid,
Like a
mid first,
106.
like a 105, 106, maybe even the 107, I'd be okay with
If it was
that.
in a super flex league,
Yes.
I would have to take that, I
Yeah.
think.
And
Because
I
you're-
think you can get in home leagues. Yes, in the leagues that we play with a bunch of sharks. No.
I think out of those top 5 picks, easily 3 of them are going to be quarterbacks. Because once Richardson gets drafted, the Capitol, the Combine, I think he's going to be a top 5 pick. So you got 3 quarterbacks. You've probably got, obviously Bijan, maybe Jahmyr Gibbs. So maybe you get Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Yep, Jackson Smith and Jigba. You might have Will Levis hanging around at the 108, 109 in Superflex rookie drafts.
I mean, if you can take a running back and flip it into a starting quarterback straight up, like that's how you got to kind of look at it. Like that's always a win, right? So.
Yeah.
All right, good debate. We'll check that one later, although we'll probably totally forget. So whatevs.
That's
All right, let's get.
I'll write it down.
Yes, thank you. Our last sponsor of the evening is Underdog. Baseball's starting up. Spring fever is upon us. If you're into the baseball thing, I used to be, just can't do it anymore. I'm too old. The games take too long. I'm impatient. I have more.
I fall asleep. I got to go take my pills every time a pitcher hits the mound.
But the NBA season is going strong. Hockey is going strong. Celtics, Bruins looking good. Side note, they've already got NFL not startups, but best ball leagues going on Underdog as well. So make sure when you go on Underdog, and if you haven't downloaded it before, please go and do that now on your Apple iTunes or your Google Play Store. Use code DHH and you'll have your deposit matched up to $100. So you put in 100, you get 100. You know how that works. It's free money for something that you're going to love playing anyway. So all the different things, I love playing it during football season for the prop betting. I got real close to a couple $100 wins and I didn't get them. So I'm determined in this next season to get it right. I missed by like 2 David Montgomery total yards, a $10 bet to turn it into $200. I was not happy, but that's how the cookie crumbles. So make sure you check out Underdog today, one of the leaders in the new regime of fantasy football and fantasy sports in general.
I loved it. I won a bunch of money during the
Yes.
Super Bowl.
Yes, you did.
Putting some 4-player teams together, which was a crazy format that I never thought I would be involved in. And hey, it worked out, man.
Yeah, 100%. And while you're on Underdog signing up for that, make sure you go into your browser, punch in dynastynerds.com and sign up for the Nerd Herd. Use code DHH for 15% off. Awesome tools right now are Prospect Film Room, Prospect Scores, Dynasty GM. You get trade tools. You get an extra Nerd Herd episode from Rich and the gang. Just an awesome product over at dynastynerds.com. So again, code DHH for 15% off any subscription. And if you need some new gear, it's getting cold. You need a sweatshirt. You need a toque. You need a hat. Go on Verde and Global, search Dynasty Happy Hour. We've got it all on there. So thank you to Manscaped, Underdog, as well as Trophy Smack and Dynasty Nerds for supporting us and being great sponsors that we love to have here each and every week. James, for me, for you, we're going to get on out of here, and hopefully the three of us will be back together next week when we talk about some wide receivers, or maybe we just talk about the combine. Because
I think we should just talk about the combine, man. Yeah, I think we take a break from the landscape and get into some
talk about the combine. Yes,
talk about some of these combine rookies, man.
So come in and listen. Get a fire going and listen to me talk about tight ends and gain the knowledge and gain the value, because every year the tight end class
talk about tight ends.
Man, the tight ends are my thing. Football. I'm going to watch them closely, if you know what I'm saying. So with that being said, I'm Doug. He's James. This is the Dynasty Happy Hour. We'll talk to you next week.
Later.